welcome back. In today's video, we'll be taking a deep dive into one of my personal favorite companions in Baldurs Gate 3's early access, Laezel. Going to go over her quest and her story, stopping along the way to talk about what things mean and what they might mean. If you end up enjoying this video, please subscribe, for there'll be much more Baldurs Gate 3 content on the way. I want to give a quick shout out to some recent YouTube channel members: Baller Bill, Sasquatch Sean, Rifter6, Josh H, and Erica Lee, and also some recent channel patrons, Jessica and Ina. I really appreciate your guys' support. Let's get right into it. We first meet Laezel on the Nautiloid ship at the start of our early access journey. Like ourselves, she has been captured by a mind flayer and infected with a tadpole. For those who might not know, tadpoles cause their hosts to ultimately turn into mind flayers themselves. Right away upon seeing Laezel, her facial features, skin color, and somewhat emaciated appearance lets us know that she is of the Githyanki race. The story of Laezel already gains a level of intensity, for the Gith were survivors of a long enslavement by the mind flayers. After the Gith revolted in an unprecedented uprising, the race went through a civil war that would ultimately split them into two, the Githyanki and the Githzerai. Laezel's people, the Githyanki, sought vengeance that could only end with the extinction of the mind flayers and the conquering of the multiverse, while the Gith believed that this path forward would lead them into similar tyranny that their former masters enforced. During the intro cinematic, we witness a flight of red dragons attacking the Nautiloid ship, and these dragons are being ridden by some Githyanki riders. This does have some significant lore behind it. After the Gith split into two, the Githyanki's leader, named Gith, who led the Mind Flayer rebellion, traveled to the Nine Hells in search of allies for his war efforts, in particular to Tiamat, the evil goddess of dragons. Gith did not return from his journey though. Instead, a dragon envoy returned with a pledge from Tiamat that all red dragons would be allies to the Githyanki, and that a small contingent of red dragons would serve them as steeds. This dragon envoy also decreed that Gith's advisor, Velketh I, would now rule the Githyanki in place of Gith. No one knows exactly what deal was made, or even necessarily why, but Velketh was the one to advise Gith to seek an audience with Tiamat in the first place. At first sight in the intro cinematic, one might think that these dragon riders are here to save Laezel, but it more so seems as if they're there to destroy the ship at all costs, even if it results in the death of one of their own. When the Nautiloid ship jumps to Avernus, and we the players take control of our character, Laezel drops down in front of us, ready to kill, until she realizes that we are not a thrall. Githyanki are typically not a race you would want to come across. In fact, they are an evil race, who is proud and xenophobic. Instead of killing us, Laezel says,
Velketh blesses me this day. Together, we might survive.
Velketh, the 157th, is currently the ruler of the Githyanki, and she's almost revered as a deity in the Githyanki culture. She is also known as the Lich Queen, for she previously died ascending the Githyanki throne without giving birth to an heir, but returned as a lich. Velketh has now ruled the Githyanki for over 1,000 years. She not only has the abilities of a fully developed Githyanki, but also the abilities of a lich, and she's a powerful wizard with a specialization in necromancy and transmutation. After working with Laezel to get to the helm of this ship, we are able to jump the Nautiloid out of the Nine Hells back to Faerun in the material plane. After getting knocked off the ship and saved by some mysterious power, we eventually meet Laezel once again, but this time she is prisoner to two tieflings. If you decide to free her, this is the real beginning of Laezel's companion quest. It is here that you can see for yourself how rare it is to see a Githyanki, for the Githyanki are from the astral plane. If you were to see one, you would likely be the victim of one of their Viking-like raids. Or if you're lucky, they may just be hunting mind flayers, which do reside in the Underdark on Faerun. If you can find a way to get along with this rather discourteous, and some would say arrogant companion, Laezel will reveal to you that she knows of a place where you and her can be cured of your infection. This place is a Githyanki creche called Creche Kalir. Githyanki creches were locations where the Githyanki raised and trained their young, and they often resided in remote places on the prime material plane. Creches were necessary to the race because on the astral plane, where the Githyanki are from, the effects of time are slowed almost to a stop, which prevents aging. Young Githyanki, which hatch from eggs, are brought to a creche so they can mature. It is here that they undergo a rigid regime of training and combat practice, and are told tales of Velketh and her immortal warriors. The final test of a Githyanki's training was to slay a mind flayer and bring back their head to Velketh. This rite of passage marked entry into adulthood and into the Githyanki community itself. As we progress on, we do learn that Laezel is part of this Creche Kalir, and maybe she's attempting to complete her final rites of passage. This would explain as to why the Githyanki riders didn't seem to care for her much. She hasn't proved herself as a Githyanki yet. Laezel's tiefling captors revealed that a tiefling by the name of Zoru has recently seen some Githyanki in the area. With this information, Laezel wants you and her to go find Zoru, which will hopefully lead to finding the Githyanki, getting to the creche, and ultimately our purification. Once you and your party make it to the Druid's Grove and find Zoru, you really get to see the nature of a Githyanki.
In Creche Kalir, a formal greeting begins with a bow.
Is this monster with you?
Lower.
Zoru reveals that he saw Githyanki on the road to Baldurs Gate near the mountain pass.
Saw us for we saw it. Jammed its blade through Yul's belly. Straight to the other side.
No twisting. Kin must have been in a hurry.
After her conversation with Zoru, you can speak to her, and with a successful insight check, you can tell that something is off. Her intentions are not entirely sincere. If you then use your Illithid tadpole powers to peer into her mind, you will see that Laezel looks at you as if you're already a mind flayer, a monster in all but appearance. I would assume that if Laezel did not have the tadpole problem herself, she might have attempted to just kill us outright. This would make sense for any Githyanki because they are raised to kill mind flayers, and we could very well end up becoming one despite our tadpoles acting strangely and delaying the process. This particular dialogue may change your future decisions and how you go about with this companion, and at this point in time it doesn't sound wise to entirely trust her, but then again, can you trust any of the companions? Further on in the conversation, you learn that this Creche Kalir holds something called the Zaithisk, which is apparently what is needed to cleanse you and her from the tadpole. Unfortunately, we cannot learn anything about this Zaithisk because Laezel says that by covenant she can say no more. So what is it that's going to purify us? Is it a device, an artifact? Is our purification perhaps death itself? Laezel doesn't exactly come across as a well-renowned, respected Githyanki, despite her combat prowess. She may in fact be wary of her own plans, or could even be leading us into a trap. But since I love her, we're going to trust her anyways. At some point later in the game, and I wasn't able to capture this, we find out that as tough as she is, she does have an overwhelming fear of failure. Failure of not pleasing her ruler Velketh, and not being accepted into the Githyanki community. She is obviously very talented and ambitious, probably gifted in many ways, but she fears that this will not be recognized and she will fade into nothingness. After heading to the road to Baldurs Gate near the mountain pass, it's time to meet some more Githyanki. As you near the location, looking down at the bridge, you can see what appears to be 3 Githyanki, 4 Flaming Fist soldiers, and some dead soldiers. The Flaming Fists, for those who don't know, serve as the military force for Baldur's Gate. One of these Githyanki is labeled as a Gish, which were Githyanki who mastered their psionic abilities and were well versed in spellcasting. If you end up fighting this patrol, you'll notice that Gish can teleport and also put you to sleep. The Githyanki's long enslavement from the Mind Flayers allowed them to develop many psionic type abilities, which is also why we get jump at level 3 when playing with Laezel. The Flaming Fist soldiers on the bridge are attempting to stop the Githyanki patrol from whatever it is they are doing. This situation is likely not in the soldiers' favor. It doesn't get any better when a red dragon shows up and kills them all. Who brings a dragon to a sword fight? The Githyanki do. The rider of this dragon is referred to as Kithrak, which means captain, and refers to Githyanki knights. The Githyanki knights were honored in the Githyanki society, and were the riders of the red dragons. When Kithrak dismounts, he says this:
"No excuses. Question, kill, then move on. Find the weapon. Our queen watches us. Fail her at your peril."
So this Githyanki patrol is on a mission to find a weapon, whatever that may be. After this scene ends, Laezel says that she envies the Dragon Knight, and that she wants to one day ride such a steed. She then tells us to join her as she hurries off to go speak with the patrol. When you arrive down there, regardless of how you answer in dialogue, Laezel is treated poorly by Kithrak and called child multiple times. This confirms that she is yet to complete her rites of passage on Kresh Kalir. Kithrak then goes on to reveal,
"A Gate vessel has fallen from the sky, Laezel. Thieves aboard have taken a weapon most precious. It is polyhedric in shape and inscripted with the sacred runes of our people."
If you successfully convince Laezel to go along with Kithrak and not stir up trouble, because she seems not to trust him at this point, Kithrak tells her to take your slaves and hunt those who escape the ship, for they must carry the weapon. Those of you who may have noticed, Shadowheart, who was also on the Nautiloid ship, has a mysterious item in her inventory, and it just so happens to fit Kithrak's description of the weapon he seeks. Polyhedral in shape and inscripted with Githyanki runes. After the patrol leaves, Laezel says,
Skaketh, I have followed protocol. He does not speak for Velketh. We carry the weapon he seeks. It must be powerful for a Kithrak to betray his own queen's children.
She believes Kithrak has betrayed his own kind, for he says he speaks for Velketh. The weapon he seeks must be extremely powerful for him to betray his own kind for it. If your conversation with the patrol doesn't go well, you, Laezel, and the rest of your party will be forced to fight for your lives. But Kithrak leaves, trusting his patrol to do the dirty work. Killing the patrol will result in the same response about Kithrak from Laezel, but taking this route will allow you to go one small step further in Laezel's companion quest. The Githyanki in the patrol named Sarth Beretha has a special item on her that can be looted. This item is labeled as an elaborate slate. Upon examining it,
Tirsu markings. Could this be?
Magical energy courses through the slate, then to Laezel. Your own body buzzes in resonance.
you find the markings on it that reveal the location of a Githyanki creche. This creche is nestled in the mountains beyond the western bridge, where we cannot go in early access. It's important to note that Kresh Kalir, which we believe Laezel is from, is also known as Stardock and is located on the Tears of Selûne, which are an asteroid cluster that follows the moon of Selûne in its orbit around the planet of Toril, where the continent of Faerun is.
You will educate me on matters of this Faerun.
This particular asteroid, Kresh Kalir, was connected to Faerun in a place called the Undermountain. Undermountain was a multi-tiered dungeon beneath the city of Waterdeep, which is far north of Baldurs Gate, and within it there is a portal known as the Rift, which will bring you to Kresh Kalir. So this creche that we'll be heading to on Laezel's quest might not contain the Zaithisk, or whatever Laezel is ultimately seeking, because this one lies in the mountains. Upon finding this item, it marks the end of Laezel's companion quest for early access. The mysterious weapon in Shadowheart's inventory you can inspect, but not open, but it's obvious that it is of great importance to Shadowheart as well. As to what it is, we can only speculate. Considering that it has Githyanki runes on it, we're going to assume that it is made by the Githyanki. It also gives off the sound of a beating heart, as if something is alive within it. Could this be a phylactery? Could this actually be the repository used to store Velketh's life force? Maybe Kithrak wants this to overthrow Velketh's rule and take over the Githyanki himself. Whatever it is, Laezel is going to have to confront Shadowheart on it at some point. And seeing how they're already such good friends, that's a joke, this could be a very important moment in our full game's playthrough. Laezel is the most interesting companion in my opinion, because of her race's connection to the Mind Flayers, which obviously play an important role in the plot. Her quest in early access is fairly short, but the next parts to it should prove to be extremely interesting. If we get to visit a creche, I fear it will be our last day alive on Faerun, but it would be really cool to see one. If we somehow make it to Creche Kalir on the asteroid, it would be even cooler. Despite Laezel being rude, demanding, and arrogant, I still get the feeling that she might prove to be different than a typical Githyanki. Her facial expressions when the red dragon destroys the flaming fist showed to me that she does have some remorse, and might even have a little good deep down inside. I think of her as a late teen or early 20-year-old Githyanki who is extremely gifted, but has been in a way brainwashed, but not to a point of no return. Now that she feels Kithrak has betrayed her, we might even be able to form a close relationship with her. And yes, Laezel can be romanced in early access, but she doesn't seem to look at it as anything but a quick personal satisfaction. Who would have guessed? Thanks so much for watching, guys, and feel free to share any information or speculations you might have on Laezel or the Githyanki down below in the comments. If you ended up enjoying this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of content on this channel, ranging from live streams to game reviews to class guides to lore videos and much more, and I'd love to have some of you guys back for a future video. I'll likely do more of the companions next. Until next time.